There was once a young craftsman, skilled with his hands, but broken in his heart. Every morning he worked on the same stone, day after day, week after week, month after month, and every single time it cracked, not once, not twice, but again and again and again. He begged God to help him. He prayed for strength, for guidance, for success. But nothing changed. The stone kept breaking, and the boy began to believe. Maybe he was the one who was broken. But here is the truth he never saw coming. Sometimes God breaks what you're shaping, so he can shape you instead. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months, but the stone still cracked in his hands. He tried harder, he worked longer, he pushed his strength beyond what his young body could bear. And the more he failed, the more he felt unworthy. People in the village began to speak behind his back. Some said he wasn't skilled enough, some said he was wasting his time, some even laughed at him. But the boy kept working, because deep down, he believed this stone held the purpose God gave him. Yet every night, he lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering why God would let him struggle this much. Why does God stay silent when your heart is shattering? Why does he allow your hands to fail when your intentions are pure? And when one final crack echoed through the workshop, the boy finally broke too. He dropped his tools, fell to his knees, and whispered, "Lord, I can't do this anymore." But what the boy didn't know was that someone had been watching him. Every morning, the village elder would pass by the workshop and see the boy hammering that same stubborn stone. The elder was a man who had shaped stones his entire life. He knew their language, he knew their secrets, and he recognized something the boy could not. This stone was not ordinary. It was a heartstone, a rare type that refuses to obey untrained hands. Only a craftsman with true endurance, true patience, and a heart shaped by struggle could bring out its purpose. The elder stepped into the workshop just as the boy wiped tears from his eyes. He looked at the cracked stone, then at the boy, and said gently, "Do you know why this stone breaks?" The boy shook his head. The elder smiled softly and said, "Because God is teaching your hands before he can trust them." The boy stared at him, confused yet hopeful. The elder picked up the cracked stone with careful reverence and whispered as if speaking to something sacred, "This stone is meant to carry light." And for the first time, the boy realized. His struggle was not punishment. It was preparation. Days passed, and the stone still did not shine. Aaron polished it, wiped it, prayed over it, yet the crack stared back at him like a wound that refused healing. He began to doubt himself again. Maybe I am not meant for this. Maybe I misheard the call. Maybe the master picked the wrong apprentice. One evening, after everyone left the workshop, Aaron sat alone under the dim lantern. He held the stone close, and for the first time, he whispered through tears, "God, if you really want me to work with this broken thing, then I need you, because I don't know how anymore." In that sacred silence, something changed, not in the stone, but in Aaron. The crack glimmered faintly, not because it was fixed, but because Aaron finally stopped fighting it. It was the first moment he realized the stone wasn't delaying him. It was shaping him. The master, watching from the doorway, smiled quietly. This was the moment he had been waiting for, because the real test was never the stone. It was Aaron's heart. The next morning, Aaron walked into the workshop with a quieter spirit, not defeated, but surrendered. The master stood beside him and placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Aaron," he said softly, "tell me, what have you learned from this stone?" Aaron lowered his eyes. "I learned that my strength is not enough, my skill is not enough, and my patience is not enough." The master nodded. "Good, because the stone was never meant to teach you strength." Aaron looked up, confused. The master continued, "It was meant to teach you surrender." He picked up the cracked stone and held it toward the light. "This crack is not your failure. It is your doorway." Aaron whispered, "Doorway to what?" The master smiled. "To the version of you that God has been waiting for." Aaron stood silently, holding the cracked stone in his hands. For the first time, he didn't feel anger. He didn't feel shame. He felt something deeper, something heavier. He felt the truth. All his life, he thought strength came from perfection, from getting everything right, from never breaking. But standing there, with a broken stone in his palms, he realized perfection had taught him nothing. It was the breaking that had shaped him. Every crack had softened him. Every failure had humbled him. Every disappointment had carved something in him that success never could. He whispered to himself, maybe the breaking was the blessing. That evening, Aaron sat alone in the workshop. No tools in his hands, no stone before him, just silence. For the first time, he wasn't fighting the stone. He was listening. The master's words echoed in his mind. "The crack is your doorway." Aaron closed his eyes, and for a moment, he finally understood. Maybe God wasn't breaking his work. Maybe God was breaking his pride. And in that silent room, Aaron felt something he hadn't felt in months. Peace. The next day, Aaron picked up a new stone. His hands did not tremble this time. He wasn't trying to prove anything. He wasn't trying to win. He wasn't trying to control the outcome. He simply worked with a surrendered heart. Hours passed. The sun crossed the sky. And when Aaron struck the stone for the final time, it did not crack. For the first time in months, the stone held. Aaron froze, not out of pride, but out of awe, because he knew this was not his victory. This was the moment God had been shaping him for. Aaron turned to the master, the whole room quiet, as if time itself held its breath. "Master," he whispered, "why did the stone break all those times?" The master smiled gently, not with amusement, but with the tenderness of someone who understands pain. "Because," he said, "there are lessons God cannot teach you until something in you breaks first." Aaron's eyes softened. The master continued, "If the stone succeeded too early, your heart would have stayed hard. If it succeeded too easily, you would have trusted your hands more than his timing. And if it succeeded without the breaking, you would have walked into your calling with pride instead of surrender." Aaron felt a weight lift from his chest. The master placed a hand over his heart. "Aaron, God was not breaking the stone. He was breaking your fear. He was breaking your doubt. He was breaking everything in you that would have destroyed your future." Aaron's voice trembled. "So the breaking was never meant to stop me." The master shook his head. "No, Aaron, the breaking was meant to prepare you." And with a new heart, Aaron returned to the stone. But this time, he did not rush. He did not fight. He did not fear the breaking. He simply worked with a quiet trust. Strike by strike, chip by chip, the stone began to take shape. It didn't crack. Not because Aaron had become stronger, but because he had become softer. His heart, his patience, his spirit were no longer fighting the process. When the final piece fell away and the sculpture stood complete, Aaron felt something he had never felt before. Not pride, not victory, but peace. The master walked beside him and whispered, "Now you understand. God wasn't shaping the stone, he was shaping you." Aaron looked at the finished work, and tears filled his eyes, because he finally saw that the breaking was never the end. It was the beginning. And so it is for you. Everything that cracked, everything that broke, everything that hurt you, was carving you into someone God had always seen within you. You are not breaking. You are becoming. Remember that.